assessing ePortfolios is often the question that you get asked whenever you give a presentation or talk about ePortfolios. Everyone wants to know, how do you assess them? And I guess my main response would be that I assess them the same way that I assess any other piece of academic work. So that one of the good things about an ePortfolio, though, is that you can add in to your assessment criteria presentation, because you want a viewer to engage with the item. So we use a PebblePad ePortfolio environment here, and that comes with templates, but I think students can still screw up presentation. So presentation is always pretty high on my criteria list for assessing ePortfolios, that the pages are nicely balanced, they've chosen carefully some images that have importance, that they don't use text that's too small, they paragraph correctly. You know, it really does need to invite me in order to get a pass grade. I think that the way that they write is really important as well, and so they have to have an engaging style. I have to understand fairly clearly what they're on about. They need to introduce their work. An introduction is always important, whether you're writing an academic essay or writing an ePortfolio. The first page really needs to help the viewer know what they're going to see when they start to look through the ePortfolio. So a student really does need to have a good style of writing and a good way of explaining what you are expected to find when you look at their pages. They need to they do need to talk about academic texts if they're going to justify some of their opinions. So they need to have good sources, they need to reference well. You know, we do see ePortfolios that look pretty good and have a list of references at the end. So students should be able to provide that in an ePortfolio. I like to see something that's well structured, that they've explained, you know, this will be what you'll find on each page, that they don't try to clutter up or make one whole page, that they do think about how to structure their work and how you as the viewer will be guided through it. And then of course there's the content, whatever you're asking them to write about, and I'd expect that to be clearly articulated. So whatever the content of the assessment task is, whether it is about reflecting on a particular topic or action or practical work that they've done, that needs to be well thought through and convincing, so a convincing argument with regard to whatever the assessment question is. And I also think that an ePortfolio is a great way for students to show development, so we can assess them on how well they show they've developed from one stage in their learning to another, and providing evidence. And so that's the second part. Probably run out of time with that, but evidence can be a whole lot of things. I think as pre-service teachers, you know, digital photographs are great ways of providing evidence. They can provide evidence through digital photography of children's work, of their own work, of a classroom setting, of the classroom itself. All things that they can talk to in an ePortfolio. Movies, of course, are becoming smaller and more usable in webfolios or ePortfolios. I like auditory things. I like little snapshots of audio, so long as students tell me clearly what it's going to be, what I'll hear, and it's not too long. So, and the same goes for video in that respect, that I don't expect them to link to, you know, a mega 1 hour concert that they've been engaged in, but that they edit out a minute that is specifically about the point they want to make in their ePortfolio. Written things are always good, references from associate or supervising teachers, things that their academic teachers might write about them. They might write an email or a short comment or a text. I think they're always really good bits of evidence that students can supply when they want to make a point.
Is evidence about their graduate learning outcomes something that's really
it will be
valuable for a
yes.
portfolio?
I think that as we've had graduate attributes for a while now they've turned into graduate learning outcomes, because I think that word outcome is really quite important. We need to provide evidence that we've learned this particular outcome. And so we have a range of graduate learning outcomes, and I do think that I think it's a good idea for students to think about different types of artefacts. So those different, digital ways of showing evidence. One of the graduate learning outcomes will be about their professional work. So, I mean, they need to kind of keep some clear evidence that they've achieved a high level of practice before they become a teacher, so that they can prove that to prospective employers. But likewise, we have graduate learning outcomes that include Indigenous culture, for instance, a knowledge of that, and other cultures. Not Indigenous is specified, but we do expect students to show a diverse understanding of different cultures. Digital literacies is high on the list, where an ePortfolio is a very good example, and I think quite a convincing argument to a prospective employer as well, that if they can provide an ePortfolio as a showcase at the end of their degree program to a prospective employer, then it's a very convincing argument that they've achieved the digital literacies as an outcome. The advice, I think you will agree with me, is about clearly scaffolding students' understanding of how to think more deeply about what they're learning. We need to get beyond the description, and sometimes as academic teachers we're a little we're uncertain how to do that. I think we expect students to just be able to do it when we ask them to, but we really do need to come up with clear questions that assist their thinking processes, so that they can dig more deeply about what their experiences mean to them as a future teacher, doctor, whatever they happen to be. But even in first year, I think we can start them thinking about what they're going to look like when they graduate and become a beginning teacher. I would also hope that what that image is as they go through their degree changes, but they still need to have an idea of what it is. And so, yes, my tip to other academic teachers would be to help students think about themselves as a future professional right from the very beginning, and help them continue to think about how it's changing over time.